Hello, this lecture has to do with the introduction and examples of types of writing. So I have this document that has a grid of each type of writing across the top, and I'm going to briefly lecture down the side so you can see an easy comparison of similarities and details as we go. Throughout the document, we will practice creating and then identifying aspects of each of these. Over the course of the next week or so, we will practice creating documents that mirror each of these types of writing in order for you to practice actually utilizing the types of writing. So there's technical writing, academic or research writing, creative and narrative writing, as I kind of chunk them into three groups. Technical writing is workplace writing. They frequently refer to it as. It includes simply writing an email to a professor, writing a brochure, providing instructions. The majority of your work of writing will be technical writing. Responding to an incident report is a form of technical writing. Academic and research writing falls directly into educational type of writing or college writing. And creative and narrative writing, creative writing has a lot of things that's included, like songs, poetry, speeches. Narrative writing that will relate to you will be essay writing for a college entrance exam, usually falls into this category. So although these will look different, I will give you similarities of development and style. As you can see, the development of technical writing has to do with data, research, examples, facts, sometimes anecdotes as well. This is very straightforward information that is kind of mechanical feeling. If you notice in the academic and the research column, we do use research and data, but it's going to look a little bit different. We do use examples as well in academic and research writing. We just don't present it the same or speak about it the same as in a technical document. Then you can see the creative and narrative section becomes extremely different with development. We use anecdotes or personal stories. We derive a lot of our development on imagery and sensory details. I will provide examples as we go so you can see the difference of these. Organization for technical writing, you use bullet points, headings, lists, and spacing becomes important. So this is something that you will integrate to help your audience see main ideas, important information, or to draw attention to part of the document that you think is relevant. In academic and research writing, it becomes a structure of an AMLA or APA structure. There's headings, headers, titles, and paragraphs that are kind of specified in the way that they look, and they continue to look the same way depending on what method or citation you are using. We will get into this and use specific MLA citing. For creative and narrative, sometimes there's a title and sometimes they can be paragraphs, but other times they can look extremely different. Let me show you just a quick example of each so you can see the drastic differences. This is an example of an email that was written actually from my brother to a client. So as you can see, we have some bolding and some listing at the top. He addresses the speaker, and notice the paragraphing. We use single in a business letter or email. We use single space, usually without indenting, and he directly speaks to the customer. I was talking with Eric regarding a conveyor system. We are thinking, here's what we are proposing. You can see how the format is different and how he directly talks to his customer. Then we have this that also is an example of a technical document, and again is a manual that my brother created for his company. You can see the layout is different. There's different bold, size, font. There are pictures included. And notice how long the document is. We have a rolling tab at the bottom. He has a table of contents that he created, again, with different spacing and formatting. And then he starts into his full document that is a manual. This is the research paper. You can see this is an APA style research paper that has a specific cover page that has information in a specific order. It then required an abstract and a running header. It is then moves on to the actual document with a title and the rest of the content. This is the creative. If you notice, just the formatting might look different. This would be a poem, freestyle poem. The word choice, notice the word choice is a little bit different, which I will talk about that further. And this is also what a narrative looks like. So this is paragraph form, but the language development is the same. If I scroll back to here, I will draw attention to some of those things as I move on. So if you notice, the technical document has a variety of bullet points, headings, and lists. The academic has that clear, structured, specified organization layout, and then the creative is kind of depends on the goal of the assignment. If we look here, we look at style. The technical document had those short denotative words that were very specific, and they had a clear objective, like my brother was addressing Robert or Eric and telling them exactly the plan in clear, specific language that might seem a little abrupt. The academic or research section becomes a little bit more professional. We have longer, more complex sentences. The paragraphs were a little bit, the sentence structures were a little bit longer. We want to avoid colloquial language, which simply means talking, like using conversational language in this writing. The creative or the narrative, the language had long connotative words that had a lot of feeling or emotion and became a little bit more complex. The format, again, for the technical document is the font, the spacing, the indenting. It all varies. It depends on the creation and the purpose and the length of what you are doing. The manual that my brother had created, you could see that the headings, the headers, the labels on the pictures all would be something that he would have been working, and there wasn't a specific answer for how that document or that manual would have been created, nor the email. The academic paper was double spaced, had a works cited, had a cover page, had parentheticals, had all these mandated aspects of academic writing. And then you notice in the creative document, there were paragraphs, or there was a completely different layout. Sometimes there's an interesting title to grab your attention. We don't ever want to cross this column and accidentally do the demands of this writing over here, like become too creative, connotative in a technical document like an email or a manual. Or we don't necessarily need the professional language and control in a narrative or like an interview setting, because that language or that format feels off. So the goal of all of this next to each other is so you can see that there are some similarities, but they're represented very differently, and just the degree of which language and format relates to each type of writing. Grammar is important to all. I can't stress that enough. Grammar becomes critically important no matter what column you are writing for at this point. Grammar, like rereading things, making sure there's not typos or autocorrect, will become key to any type of writing, whether it's in an interview, essay, creative setting, a paper for your first college course, or a email that you send out in your first career job position. I want to show you the examples one more time just so I can draw your attention to a few things before we practice. Please notice on the technical document, it directly states things in a clear way, like this section provides a description and outlines components, then moves down into a diagram and has a numbered feature here by talking about that part, the finished roll diameter laser sensor is mounted. It's very clear language. The further we scroll down, notice here he has 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 bullet points before he gets to his next section. So we again have clear, direct language that it's not always the same on every page. He says, open the sliding doors, load raw materials, remove the two handles. It's direct, explicit language. Versus this. This is the academic one. Notice the academic one all the way down has the citations, the parenthetical citations, has clear organizational structure. One theory that prompted research on how food intake affects the average person. Notice that is very academic language. All the way through, the formatting remains the same all the way through the document, all the way down to the, they do insert one figure here, but it looks like a paragraph format. If you notice the word choice eliminated because they had to leave a session, concentration data from another control group, it feels a little different than the technical document. Now here we look at the feeling. So it says the words like it crippled him. She had been in college. It disrupted. We have a little bit of this annoyed, preoccupied feeling where we're trying to create an image or a feeling for someone. I'm going to quickly model how to practice language so you can feel the shift when you are writing between technical, academic, and creative, and then you'll do some identification. This strictly shows or simply shows how to take one concept and how to force it into the very specific technical language, a little less specific, but still professional language of academic, and then finally the figurative or the creative section. The technical, so we take a low GPA and we simply decide to make that a little bit more technical by saying 1.2 GPA. We then move along to the academic or research, and we don't want to say a low GPA. That sounds a little colloquial or conversational, so we say below average GPA. Then we finally move on to the last section, which we're going to make a hyperbole or be dramatic and say our GPA is in the negative. If we did the basketball player is really tall, you do the same concept. You might want to say the basketball player is 6 feet 11 inches. It's clear, it is direct, and it is the most specific. If we move over, really tall sounds conversational, like my friend is really tall. So we might want to make that a little bit more professional, and we might say that he is above average height. So we kind of change really and tall to make it a little bit more professional. Last but not least, you want to get some imagery, a simile, metaphor, personification, to underestimate or have a hyperbole. I might say he is tall as a skyscraper. If we move down, you will fill in the next 3 examples. So just follow the underlined portion of the sentence is what you will be trying to push into technical, academic, and creative. If we want to zone specifically into word choice and how we can have these short, abrupt words, a little bit longer, a little bit more professional, and then these kind of sensory overload words. So we're going to practice the same concept here, except just playing with singular word. We don't want to mix the creative word in the technical document because that feels off. So if I say use, use the parts or use the document or use the data to determine. And then I want to say the data was utilized to determine the cause, or I want to say I submerged or submersed myself in the data. Sounds very creative and not as objective or professional as these. If I want to take the word indicate, I might think, wait a minute, indicate, I might say show page 2 on the screen, or indicate the location of the data. Or I might also, maybe I'll say demonstrate. That might be another word to kind of play around with. If I hit the creative problem, I might say, I don't know, flaunt or parade an idea or a concept. You will try to do the same thing with stop, walk, and anticipate. It is okay to use some sort of thesaurus because it's not about the word, it's about the category that the word falls into. We all know these words, flaunt and indicate. We just have to understand the situation that we use those types of words as we become fluent writers. The last step that you will do is simply highlighting. I want to make sure that you know what makes technical writing as opposed to the other two. So what you will do is you'll highlight features of the technical document. So if you simply turn on your highlight function, or if you highlight part, I might highlight this and simply highlight that to indicate to me that you know this type of to, and naming somebody specific becomes technical writing. You might also highlight specific words or language that they use. So I say market research and analysis show. That's a pretty direct statement. I want you to finish here by highlighting other aspects that make this the technical writing document. I have an example of narrative writing. You're going to do the same thing. Highlight the language or the features or the feelings in language that make this a narrative document. And last but not least is academic and research writing. So what aspects of this document fall into that same category of academic or technical writing? So you can read the direct words and highlight features as well. You will submit this entire document as your assignment. So part 1 to review is to fill this in with some different phrases. Then fill this in with different word choices, and then simply identify things that help you recognize what feature of this writing falls into each category. If you have questions, please let me know.